You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
I would think how words go straight up in a thin line, quick and harmless, and how terribly doing goes along the earth, clinging to it, so that after a while the two lines are too far apart for the same person to straddle from one to the other. And that sin and love and fear are just sounds that people who never sinned, nor loved, nor feared have for what they never had and cannot have, until they forget the words. William Faulkner, As I Lay Dying.
Memory believes before knowing remembers, believes longer than recollects, longer than knowing even wonders. Knows remembers believes a corridor in a big, long, garbled, cold, echoing building of dark red brick, soot-bleakened by more chimneys than its own. Set in a grassless, cinder-strewn packed compound surrounded by smoking factory, pervious and enclosed by a 10-foot steel and wire fence, like a penitentiary or a zoo. We're in random erratic surges, with sparrow-like child trembling, orphans in identical and uniform blue denim, in and out of remembering, but in knowing constant in the bleak wells. The bleak windows wherein rains soot from the yearly adjacent chimneys, streaked like black tears. William Faulkner, Light in August.
Some things you must always be unable to bear. Some things you must never stop refusing to bear. Injustice and outrage and dishonor and shame, no matter how young you are or how old you have got. Not for kudos and not for cash. Your picture in the paper, nor money in the back either. Just refuse to bear them. William Faulkner, Intruder in the Dust.
I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal, not because he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. The writer's duty is to write about these things. It is his privilege to help a man endure by lifting his heart, by reminding him of the courage and honor and hope and pride and compassion and pity and sacrifice which have been the glory of his past. The poet's voice need not merely be the record of man. It can be one of the props, the pillars to help him endure and prevail. Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Sarah Mayers. Today we have a very special show for you. We've traveled down to Oxford, Mississippi to visit the home of one of the most gifted writers of the 20th century. Just 80 miles south of Memphis is Roanoke, William Faulkner's private home. Here he wrote some of his best short stories and novels that are still inspiring us today. Today we're going to take you on an inside look of Roanoke. So without further ado, let's begin our tour. William Faulkner purchased the primitive large Greek revival house in 1930. Tucked amidst 4 acres of cedar and hardwood trees, the house, originally known as Bailey Place, predates the Civil War. Faulkner later renamed the estate Roanoke. It served as the family's home until 1962, the year of Faulkner's death. The first room on our tour is the library. The library's walls originally featured wildlife murals painted by Miss Ellen Bailey. Faulkner whitewashed and plastered the walls. Faulkner's mother, Maud, created a portrait of him above the mantel and a portrait of Preacher Green Ligon. Faulkner built the plain white pine shelf complete with a locking compartment underneath to store a shotgun away from the children in the house. Faulkner wrote only in this room until he added an office in the rear of the house in 1950. Once Faulkner started writing in this office, he placed his typewriter on a small table given to him by his mother. He used this table for nearly all of his years at Roanoke. Here Faulkner stretched the plot outline of a fable on the wall using a plain graphite pencil and a red grease pencil. This Faulknerian creation is reminiscent of the storyboard, a technique he likely picked up while working for various Hollywood film studios. Also downstairs, the parlor was used for special occasions in the Mary Faulkner family. This Chickering piano was used by Faulkner's wife. Her sheet music collection, located in this cabinet, dates back to the 1890s. Faulkner brought this Japanese doll back from Nagano in 1955. The stairs lead up to the bedrooms. Here in Faulkner's bedroom, a pair of boat shoes still caked with mud lay on the floor, and on the mantel there is an identified number 64 that was worn by Faulkner at a Virginia horse show. The old kitchen is located on the ground of Roanoke. It was built by slaves. Throughout the grounds there are several gardens, including Faulkner's Rose Garden. William Faulkner lived a quiet yet productive life here at his beloved Roanoke.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Sarah Mayers. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at the different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. 2016 is a big year for two of Memphis's most prestigious art institutions. The Memphis Brooks Museum is celebrating 100 years, and the Memphis College of Art is marking 80. First, we'll take a look at the Memphis College of Art, and then we'll go to the Brooks Museum to see how they're celebrating. Joining me now is Haley Morris Corfiero, Vice President of Academic Affairs. Ms. Morris Corfiero, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you for speaking with me.
Congratulations on 80 years of the Memphis College of Art. How have you celebrated throughout the year?
Well, thank you. Well, this is the end of the 80th anniversary, and we've done lots of different events throughout the year. It started with this big party at the Victorian Village, which is where we all started as a more like a community education type program, and then we're ending it with our holiday bazaar. That is kind of our 66th annual event where we bring in art from alumni, faculty, staff, and students, and we bring the community in to have some fun, see some great work, and take some home with them.
Well, what can we expect to see at the bazaar?
Well, the bazaar this year, we've done it in the past, is really different, but in an exciting way. We are juried, and so what we did was we called for artists to submit images of their work, and so people are approving them and the work that's going to be presented really as a way to improve quality and really showcase the best work that's coming from the college. So I'm one of the artists. There's several artists. We're talking paintings, drawings, ceramics, jewelry, so some craft as well as some more fine art pieces, food. A wide array of things. So.
Well, many people don't know about the history of the college. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. As I said earlier, we started in the Victorian Village as a like a community education type non-degree place where people could learn art, and it was a community of people can get together and talk about art and learn about art. And then we moved to Overton Park in the late 60s, I do believe, and expanded here, and then started offering degrees and have been here ever since. And we now have programs, and we started with painting and drawing and sculpture and printmaking and photography, and now we have graphic design, animation, illustration, comics, so the wide spectrum.
Well, the college has been in two different locations, as you said. There was the James Lee House and the Rust Hall, which is where we currently are, and they've both gotten national recognition.
Yes, it's a beautiful building that is very iconic of the college, and so you can just kind of tell people that we're in the big building with all the squares in the front, and they know exactly where we are.
Well, you do have a great location in Overton Park. You're right across the street from the Brooks Museum.
Yes.
Have you had any collaborations?
Yes, our students can visit the museum for free, and oftentimes our graduate programs take students there to do curatorial lectures and artist lectures, very engaged with the staff there to work with our students.
How exactly is MCA funded?
We're a private college, we're not for profit, so we're funded through our tuition, but also donors and other grants, so yeah.
Well, your college is always showcasing the students' work, but what exhibits do you have coming up?
Coming up is the Holiday Bazaar, so we have the entire college covered with artwork for our two main galleries, upstairs and downstairs. And then after that, downtown we have the Art of Science, which is a really interesting collaboration between Le Bonheur Hospital and artists. And so a doctor, a scientist will collaborate with an artist to create work. And so it's really interesting because people who are not artists, inspire people who are. And the work that comes out of the show is amazing. It's in the Hyde Gallery downtown. And then after those two shows, then we go into, here we have the BFA show for the graduating students of the fall. So I think there's, like 15 or 16 students of all the different programs. And then also at the same time as the Art of Science is our MFA show downtown.
Well, tell us what we're sitting around right now with this exhibit right here.
Oh, this is an artist from Arkansas, and he, John Harlan North, and he creates structures, and then he paints these whimsical paintings based on these different kind of maquettes that he makes. And he came to the college and did a lecture and did a workshop with the students. It was really great. We have visiting artists, about 3 or 4 every semester, that come and give a public lecture that's open to the community, and then either does a critique session with students or a workshop, which is really wonderful.
Well, as you said, aside from visual arts, you also have graphic and computer design. Can you tell us about those classes?
Sure. Our programs are very interdisciplinary, meaning you might get a degree in graphic design, but you're also taking classes in metals and printmaking and ceramics and photography. Really, we like everybody's program to be informed by multiple disciplines. So we have illustration, which is drawing meant to work with a client, children's book illustration, commercial illustration. And then we have within that a track in comics, which creates more of a narrative and comic books.
You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of GHS-TV's award-winning talk show, Crosstalk. I'm your host, Renimi Mam. Each week in this time slot, we take a look at different issues, personalities, and events that affect you and our community. This week at Germantown High School, a world-renowned stage combat choreographer has been teaching students her craft in a week-long series of workshops.
If you want to slap someone on stage, you've got to make it look real.
His eyes follow, so we're following the trajectory.
That's what Germantown theater students learned during a week-long workshop with stage fighting professional Kara Rawlings.
The core word of acting is action. Stage combat is the ultimate expression of physical action and physical acting.
Many people believe that stage combat is another form of fighting, but there's more to it.
Is to find the paraphrase so that you really understand the meaning.
The main thing that I focus on as a fight director is the story.
It really helps me connect with whoever it is that I'm working in. And maybe it's not just one partner, maybe it's a whole group fight. You can relate to those actors that are performing with you a whole lot better. It's a whole different level of intimacy.
Kara Rawlings says that when she was a student, there was a workshop right here on the Poplar Pike Playhouse stage that opened her eyes to the stage combat art form.
The workshop that I took in high school was a pivotal moment for me in my life.
That workshop was led by professional movement coach David Leong, whose credits include Billy Elliot and Carousel.
It was around 2000 that I was thinking about graduate schools, and I thought, I wonder what David Leong's doing now. So I looked him up. I found that he was chair of the program at Virginia Commonwealth University, and that led me to contact him and say, tell me about your program.
Now it's Rawlings' turn to teach students her craft.
Something that I've never done before, and it really makes me think about each movement that I take.
This workshop is unique, and there's so many different techniques that we can learn.
I learned that there's much more to theater and musicals than just singing and dancing.
To learn more concept of acting and just theater in general is something I would love to do.
And the most important lesson in stage combat fighting?
Eye contact, look at the target, cue down, bam.
Trust.
When I was in high school and I was standing there in front of David Leong, and it was all so new. And now I'm on the other side of that and I'm looking at you guys and I'm like, wow, you have years in front of you.
We are pleased to welcome Kara Rawlings to the show, along with GHS theater teacher Kiri Walls. Thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Miss Rawlings, why did you become a combat instructor?
I became a combat instructor kind of by default. I grew up as a dancer here in Germantown, Tennessee. I danced at Performing Arts with Elizabeth Ann Brown, and growing up as a dancer, I ended up choreographing dance numbers professionally. And when it came time that I realized I wanted to teach movement for the actor, I was looking at graduate programs, and I contacted David Leong, who I met here through this program when I went through. And I said, tell me about your program. And he contacted me right away and said, well, come audition for me. And when I did, he said, well, you're going to have to learn to fight. And I said, okay. He said, it's like dancing. And I said, okay, great, got it. So, I started studying stage combat and fight direction in 2000, and then took the path of becoming a certified teacher with the Society of American Fight Directors.